23 P-8 Poseidon, Maritime Patrol aircraft track 11 Russian submarines across the Arctic Ocean in the longest continuous anti-submarine warfare operation in history. For 31 days, they maintain contact, deploy 670 sonobuoy fields, and prevent the Russian fleet from reaching attack positions. August 4th to September 3rd, 2025, Arctic Ocean and Norwegian Sea. At 11:47 p.m. on August 4th, U.S. naval intelligence detected unusual activity at Russian submarine bases along the Kola Peninsula and in the Far East. Satellite imagery and signals intelligence indicated that 11 Russian submarines, 8 attack boats, and 3 ballistic missile submarines were preparing for simultaneous deployment. By August 5th at 3 a.m., all 11 boats had departed their ports, heading toward the Arctic Ocean in what appeared to be a coordinated strategic deterrent patrol, combined with potential offensive operations against NATO naval forces. The submarine threat was significant and diverse. The 8 attack submarines consisted of 4 Yasen-class nuclear boats, Russia's most advanced and quietest attack submarines, and 4 Akula-class boats, older but still capable platforms. The 3 ballistic missile submarines were Oscar II-class boats, massive vessels designed to carry nuclear-tipped cruise missiles, but also capable of anti-ship operations. Intelligence assessments suggested the force could threaten NATO carrier groups, attack commercial shipping in the North Atlantic, or position for nuclear strikes. The mission assigned to U.S. Maritime Patrol and Reconnaissance Forces was clear: locate all 11 submarines, maintain continuous tracking, and prevent them from reaching positions where they could threaten American or Allied interests. 23 P-8A Poseidon aircraft were deployed to conduct the operation, designated Persistent Sentinel. The P-8, a Boeing 737-based maritime patrol aircraft equipped with advanced sonar systems, radar, and magnetic anomaly detectors, was specifically designed for anti-submarine warfare. Each aircraft could deploy sonobuoys, expendable sensors dropped into the ocean that listened for submarine acoustic signatures and transmitted data via radio to the aircraft. The P-8s would operate from bases in Iceland, Norway, Scotland, and Alaska, rotating crews to maintain continuous coverage over vast areas of ocean. At 6 a.m. on August 5th, the first P-8 missions launched from Keflavik, Iceland. 4 aircraft, flying 6-hour patrols, began deploying sonobuoy patterns across likely submarine transit routes through the Greenland, Iceland, UK gap, a critical choke point submarines must pass through to reach the Atlantic. At 8:30 a.m., a P-8 operating 200 miles northeast of Iceland detected acoustic signatures consistent with a Yasen-class submarine at a depth of 400 feet, traveling at 12 knots on a westerly course. The contact, designated Sierra 1, became the first confirmed detection of the operation. The P-8 crew, consisting of 9 personnel including pilots, tactical coordinators, and sensor operators, immediately established a sonobuoy tracking pattern around Sierra 1. By deploying sonobuoys in geometric patterns and analyzing the acoustic data they provided, the crew could maintain contact while remaining at safe distances. The P-8 transmitted encrypted reports to U.S. Naval Forces Europe headquarters, which coordinated the overall operation. Sierra 1 would be tracked continuously for the next 18 days. By August 7th, 15 of the 23 P-8 aircraft were actively tracking contacts. 6 Russian submarines had been detected, 3 Yasen-class, 2 Akula-class, and 1 Oscar II. 5 submarines remained undetected, requiring intensive search operations across millions of square miles of Arctic and North Atlantic waters. The P-8s flew overlapping patrol patterns, each aircraft deploying an average of 30 sonobuoys per mission. The operation was consuming sonobuoys at rates exceeding 200 per day, requiring constant resupply from depots in multiple countries. Should P-8s risk close approaches for positive identification or maintain standoff distances accepting uncertainty. Type A for aggressive tracking at closer range. Type B for cautious standoff tracking. Comment your reasoning. At 2 p.m. on August 10th, a P-8 operating from Andøya, Norway, detected a submarine signature 340 miles north of the Norwegian coast. The contact, moving slowly at 6 knots and operating at 600 feet depth, exhibited acoustic characteristics consistent with an Oscar II ballistic missile submarine. This was Sierra 7 and its detection was critical. Oscar II boats, while primarily designed for nuclear deterrent patrols, could also launch anti-ship cruise missiles at ranges exceeding 300 miles. Tracking this submarine prevented it from positioning for strikes against NATO forces. The tracking of Sierra 7 illustrated the challenges of anti-submarine warfare. The Oscar II, while not as quiet as modern Russian attack submarines, still operated below the ambient noise level of the ocean under many conditions. Maintaining contact required the P-8 to deploy sonobuoys ahead of the submarine's projected path, creating a fence of sensors the submarine would cross. When Sierra 7 passed through a sonobuoy field at 4:30 p.m., the acoustic data allowed the P-8 crew to refine their tracking and deploy additional sonobuoys to maintain contact. By August 15th, 11 days into the operation, all 11 Russian submarines had been detected and were being tracked by rotating P-8 patrols. The submarines were operating across a vast area stretching from the Barents Sea to the waters east of Greenland and south toward the Faroe Islands. The P-8s had deployed 340 sonobuoy fields, some containing as few as 6 sonobuoys, others using 20 or more to cover larger areas or particularly challenging acoustic environments. The operational tempo was grueling for air crews. Each P-8 mission lasted between 6 and 8 hours, with crews conducting detailed acoustic analysis, deploying sonobuoys precisely, and coordinating with other aircraft to ensure no submarine contact was lost during crew rotations. Pilots flew in difficult conditions including Arctic storms, low visibility, and mechanical turbulence. Sensor operators analyzed acoustic data for hours, distinguishing submarine signatures from biological noise, commercial shipping, and oceanographic phenomena. Subscribe to Navy Mission now for the most detailed anti-submarine warfare coverage available. This is analysis that reveals undersea tracking operations. At 9 p.m. on August 18th, Sierra 3, a Yasin-class submarine tracked continuously for 13 days, executed a sprint and drift maneuver designed to evade tracking. The submarine accelerated to 25 knots, traveling 8 miles in 20 minutes, then went silent at a new depth. The P-8 tracking Sierra 3, anticipating this possibility, had deployed sonobuoys along multiple potential courses. When Sierra 3 went silent at its new position, it was inside a sonobuoy field that reacquired the contact within 12 minutes. The submarine's attempt to evade had failed. By August 25th, 21 days into Persistent Sentinel, the Russian submarines had collectively traveled over 15,000 nautical miles while being tracked. The P-8s had flown over 800 sorties and deployed 520 sonobuoy fields. Some submarines had attempted counter-detection procedures, sudden course changes, depth variations, and periods of ultra-quiet operations. But the P-8's persistent coverage and sophisticated acoustic processing maintained contact. The message to Russian submarine commanders was clear: they were not operating undetected. At 3 a.m. on August 28th, Sierra 9, an Akula-class submarine that had been particularly difficult to track due to its quiet operations, surfaced briefly 400 miles south of Iceland to transmit communications to Russian naval headquarters. A P-8 monitoring the area detected the submarine using radar during its surface transit. The communication, intercepted by Signal's intelligence assets, indicated the submarine commander was reporting difficulties with his patrol due to constant contact with Maritime Patrol aircraft. Russian Naval Command ordered the submarine to continue its mission, but the psychological impact of being continuously tracked was evident. By August 31st, 27 days into the operation, the first Russian submarines began returning to port. Sierra 1, the Yasin-class boat detected on the first day, turned northeast and headed back toward the Kola Peninsula. Over the following 3 days, all 11 submarines abandoned their patrols and returned to Russian bases. The P-8 tracking operations continued until each submarine entered Russian territorial waters. On September 3rd, the last Russian submarine, Sierra 7, the Oscar II, entered the Barents Sea and was released from tracking. Persistent Sentinel officially concluded at midnight on September 3rd, having lasted 31 days. The operation's statistics were remarkable. 23 P-8 aircraft had flown 890 sorties, totaling over 6,200 flight hours. They had deployed 670 sonobuoy fields containing approximately 11,000 individual sonobuoys. All 11 Russian submarines had been detected and tracked, with no submarine maintaining undetected status for longer than 18 hours. The continuous pressure had forced the Russian fleet to abandon its mission and return to port without achieving any operational objectives. Do you think continuous tracking of submarines during peacetime constitutes escalation or legitimate intelligence gathering? Share your perspective below. For the U.S. Navy's Maritime Patrol and Reconnaissance Force, Persistent Sentinel validated decades of investment in anti-submarine warfare capabilities. The P-8 Poseidon had proven its design purpose, maintaining contact with submarines across vast ocean areas through persistent operations and advanced sensors. The operation demonstrated that even modern, relatively quiet submarines couldn't operate undetected when facing sustained tracking by multiple maritime patrol aircraft with unlimited access to sonobuoys and unrestricted operating areas. For Russia, the operation was a strategic failure that exposed vulnerabilities. The 11 submarine patrol, intended to demonstrate Russian undersea capabilities and potentially position for offensive operations, had instead revealed that Russian boats couldn't evade American tracking. Every submarine commander knew throughout his patrol that American aircraft were overhead, tracking his movements. The psychological impact on crews was significant. Knowing they were being hunted continuously made normal operations stressful and combat operations impossible without being detected. For the P-8 air crews, the 31 days represented the most sustained anti-submarine operations since the Cold War. They had flown in challenging conditions, maintained focus during hours of acoustic analysis, and achieved contact rates that exceeded expectations. The operation became a case study in maritime patrol aircraft operations, analyzed in ASW schools, and used to refine tactics. The crews received recognition from fleet commands and resumed normal patrol duties with renewed appreciation for their mission's importance. The 670 sonobuoy fields deployed during the operation represented approximately $22 million in expended sensors. Each sonobuoy, costing roughly $1,650, was a one-time use item that operated for hours before sinking or exhausting its battery. The cost was significant but justified by the strategic value of tracking 11 Russian submarines and preventing them from achieving operational objectives. Future operations would benefit from analyzing acoustic data gathered during Persistent Sentinel, improving algorithms for detecting and classifying submarine signatures. For NATO allies hosting P-8 operations, the mission demonstrated the value of cooperative security. Iceland, Norway, Scotland, and other nations provided basing, logistics support, and coordination that made the operation possible. Without these allied partnerships, tracking 11 submarines across such vast areas would have been logistically impossible. The operation strengthened arguments for continued NATO cooperation in maritime security and anti-submarine warfare. The 11 Russian submarines that had been tracked returned to port for post-patrol maintenance and crew debriefs. Russian naval leadership, while publicly claiming the patrols had been successful training exercises, privately recognized the operation had exposed serious vulnerabilities. Future submarine operations would require different tactics, better acoustic quieting, or acceptance that operating under American Maritime Patrol aircraft coverage meant constant detection. None of these options were satisfactory, highlighting the strategic advantage American ASW capabilities provided. As September began, the Arctic Ocean and North Atlantic returned to normal patterns of submarine operations. But for 31 days, those waters had been the site of the largest anti-submarine warfare operation since the Cold War. 23 aircraft had hunted 11 submarines across millions of square miles. The hunters had maintained contact continuously, demonstrating that modern maritime patrol capabilities could achieve what submarine commanders feared most, being tracked throughout their patrols with no ability to achieve surprise or stealth. The operation reshaped understanding of ASW capabilities and reminded all submarine forces that the ocean, while vast, wasn't large enough to hide from persistent, well-equipped hunters. Now I want 3 perspectives from you. First, does continuous peacetime tracking of submarines reduce strategic stability or improve transparency? Second, what does this operation reveal about the current state of anti-submarine warfare technology? Third, should such operations be conducted openly or maintained as classified activities? Comment your detailed strategic analysis below. Your insights drive the conversations we have on Navy Mission. And if this breakdown of the longest ASW operation in modern history gave you new understanding of maritime patrol aircraft capabilities, prove it by hitting that like button, subscribing to Navy Mission, and turning on notifications. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay persistent, and remember that in anti-submarine warfare, patience and persistence defeat stealth and silence.